What's going on, guys? Thank you so much for checking out this podcast. Before we get into today's episode, I want to let you all know the new single, You Okay, is out now. You can hear it on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Pandora, Tidal, wherever you listen to music, or you can just go to monroemusic.net and it'll take you to wherever the heck you want to listen to it. Thank you guys so much for checking it out, and let's get into today's episode. What's up, podcast? I am so excited today. I don't know what day it is. It's Saturday, May 16th, and finally I have on the podcast today Alex Severino. That's how I say it, right?
Yeah.
Did I fuck it up?
Yeah.
No? All right. So thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this. Tell the folks at home a little bit about yourself, please.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
What you do, all that good stuff.
So I guess, I can approach this different ways, and usually when people ask me what I do, I'll say it in a way I think they want to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were in my industry, I'd be a little bit more specific. I would say
I'm so far away. I'm so far away.
I'm a multidisciplinary designer who specializes in branding and user experience. Background is in psychology. And everything I do has a human center to it. So everything I do, whether it's branding, illustration, user experience design, the focus is on the human who's using or experiencing that brand.
Nice. And you made all the things, all my artwork, the damn logo, rebranded my whole life and made me actually think about what I'm doing and what I'm saying visually rather than just, oh, here's my stuff.
Yeah, well, whether you like it or not, a lot of that work is yours, and I just kind of help facilitate that process.
Well, damn, I would not have been able to do it without you, so I appreciate you and thank you. So I wanted to have you on because of the musicians and the music industry, people in my shoes right now, we're super screwed at the moment because of this whole pandemic, this quarantine, this like catastrophe. Mm-hmm. A lot of the stuff that's going on is we can put out music and that's good and great. And we can't play shows as like independent artists. We make most of our money playing shows, selling merch, things like that. And it's like way harder right now. And kind of the stuff that you and I have been working on has been, the rebranding, the artwork, the what does this say? What does your logo convey, things of that nature. So I'd be super curious, like let's go macro first. As like an artist that's starting to put out some new music and think about how do I want to be perceived by the public? How do I want, people to view me? Is there any overall macro suggestions starting with, let's say, logo? Like, or colors or branding? What should we keep in mind as far as branding, and what can we do while we're like stuck at home right now to bolster the image that they want to provide, I guess?
It's hard. So you asked a very broad question.
Yeah, that's like super. I'm sorry, that is super broad.
But what I think is true, especially over the last 20 years, is things in the music industry and most industry is changing more radically and quicker than ever before. The pandemic is obviously a little bit of a curveball.
Yeah.
But I think what the pandemic does in a lot of the tech fields that were already radically changing, it just kind of accelerates things. Things were moving away from record sales. The music business was moving away from record sales and into more experiential ways of revenue. I think the same is true for a lot of retail in general. Retail, as it is going to have to change. It's going to have to evolve, and same is true for musicians. So what can you do?
I know
that's a broad question. You could do a lot of things. You could try to put your hand out there and test the winds. Try new things.
I remember you were telling me, because I wanted to start this whole like social media thing, and I was like, dude, how do I get people to do this thing? You're like, well, try this. We'll just try a bunch of things and like see what happens.
Yeah, and that immediate feedback is something that's unique to our time.
Yeah.
Like this band used to work on a CD or an album for a year, and I have no idea if it was going to be received by the population. But now what happens is artists are putting out shorter and singles, and they're shorter singles, and they're getting that immediate gratification. They put a song out, they see what the people think, they see what the people say. One of my favorite musicians, Chadwick Stokes, was the lead singer of Dispatch, and he went on to form a band called State Radio that I was really into. He did this thing where he was just touring living rooms.
That's awesome.
And he would put out like on his mailing list, he would put out like, anybody in the Newark area have a living room for 15 of people that want to come, and then he would go and get the instant feedback and then source and then let that mold his music, which is a totally different thing. But that's part of that is creating a closer relationship to your fan base or to the customers or to whatever user or whatever you want to call the person that's interacting with your product or brand.
Right. Damn, that's awesome, dude. That's so cool. So I guess kind of what you did for me, like the whole point of this, or me doing this, I suppose, is like providing value to people, right? So what you did for me, and also a big reason why I wanted you to be a part of this, is because you provided me with like amazing guidance of when I was kind of trying to build this brand and colors and vibe and things of that nature. So like let's see, let me frame this question better than the last. What do you start to think about if you're putting out a song? Let's use mine, for example, right? You okay with the one we worked on together, right? I was trying to put out a certain thing, and you made me think about a lot of things that I wanted to convey. What are the things that these people or these artists should keep in mind, you think, when they're putting out new music, and how that would be best conveyed to the consumer?
So I'll back it up a little.
Yeah.
So as I said up front, like everything I do as a human center. So the main directive, the main driver in any decision, any design decision, any language decision, or how a person has a customer service experience, whatever that is, the human's at the center, and you want some sort of consistent experience for that human, so that they feel as if the brand is a singular force, specific to the music. So then that's just a general thought. Why I had you, and I kind of guided you through the process and had you kind of generate most of the content and the concept is because you're not a soap brand, right? You're an artist, so your product is you.
Right.
So I would approach that very differently than a saucepan design or something that's a consumer product or something very different. How would you go about it? The branding has a different value depending on the type of product that is being presented. For something like you because you are your brand, you have to build everything as if you are the story. Like you're telling a story,
Right.
Right. It's very different than selling an app,
Right.
Whereas telling a story is important, but that story doesn't grow, right? When you're an artist, your story continues to evolve, and everything is an aggregate. So what you do now is part of your story that you're still going to have to tell or account for 10 years down the road. So tell that story, I guess, is the answer to the question. And how you want to tell that story is unique to you.
Yeah. Would you say that, kind of going back to that story of like you were telling me try different things, would that be like essentially a risk you would tell an artist to take if they're unsure? Like, try this. If you don't know if you want to do like all black and white, or you don't know if you want to be
so here's
pop,
I think one of the ways that branding diverges from marketing or advertising, because from a branding perspective, failure is part of the story.
Right.
From a marketing perspective, failure is not good, because failure means that something was done wrong, or it doesn't achieve the goal of making money on X campaign or X product. From a branding perspective, failure is part of the game,
right.
And that actually molds a more complete and more authentic story, because nothing's perfect, nothing's like you don't want the user to think of your songs as a commodity that's like kind of like IKEA bullshit or like some made in China bullshit.
Right.
You want them to feel like it's something that was handcrafted or thought about and molded.
Right.
So in that case, failure is fine.
Right.
So I would say try things.
Yeah.
But as I'm not coming from a marketing perspective, marketing people would have a different perspective, and I think it's always a balance.
Yeah. Dude, that's hard, man. That is so hard. I think that's what I found is like the hardest thing for me when I was going through this process and, learning from you what the heck branding was. Can you like define branding and like how do you delineate from branding to marketing? That's deep. Sorry. That was a lot.
There's no one definition of branding that everyone in the field would agree on.
Okay. Or what does it mean to you, I suppose? That's more important.
I would love to give you like a concise definition that I had of branding. Like I've written them down before and presented them as if they were my concise idea of what branding is.
Well, in my head, if this helps, in my head, when I go into it, and I know you're like the branding guy, to me at least, and I kind of see it as branding is you as an image, as an asset, as a marketable product. Advertising is how you convey that product to a certain audience or how you get it out to a certain audience.
Yeah, advertising is how you sell the product,
right?
Or the method of which you use to present that product or get that product in front of potential buyers or potential, in this case, listeners.
Right. So I'm curious.
But branding is more about building a character, a consistent character of whatever product you're presenting, in a way that is consistent. Consistent is key in establishing trust.
Right.
If you were, which is not always true. So this is another way that it's different for musicians. Consistency. Sometimes, I mean, I guess that's still true. Consistent might be for an artist who does country songs and reggae, that little thing in their voice.
Sure.
But they're doing very different things.
Right.
Different than consistency in brand language for Apple.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's hard to even make base. So that's why those broad questions are super hard because
Right.
it totally depends on the service or product you're trying to present.
Right. So then let's talk about in my case because I'm going to be selfish. In my case.
Yeah, go for it.
How much, I guess, in the Monroe spectrum, so people can look at my branding, quote unquote branding, and kind of take it from there. How important is the consistent logo versus a consistent photo versus like, I put something out on Instagram, let's say it doesn't match the UOK filter that's on that photo and it looks dope, but I'm putting out, black and white images, I don't know, of me writing or something. How important is consistency in branding, or is that not even just like a question because the branding is something different?
No, consistency is always important. What that consistency is varies greatly. Like for Eminem, his consistency might be like the way his voice tails at the end, or like some little. For someone else, it might be like a falsetto they have in their songs.
Sure.
Consistency is always going to be important. Does it have to be the same logo type? No. Does it have to be the same colors? No. But there's always, the goal is that the connective tissue is you, right?
Sure. Well, like for Eminem, obviously, like the E the other way around, that's like one big consistent thing.
He has retained that. Yeah,
Right.
His brand's been relatively consistent, but a lot of other artists haven't been.
Right.
They'll build a new brand around each release.
Right.
And in ways that aren't that connective, but in tone they are connected.
Mm-hmm.
You could take hand finger paints and make an album art. Then you could do an album art made completely by typewriter, and you could achieve a similar tone. You can achieve a connective tissue and consistency within that framework.
Damn. That's a lot. What do you think about, as far as what you just said about like artists that kind of deviate from their like previous campaign, let's say, right? So like you just said, like finger paints versus typewriter, like the eras of musicians. Because I've always been very curious about this, and I've always kind of want to approach my music this way, and so I'm trying to do that. where it's like, let's take My Chemical Romance,
Yeah.
for example. They have eras, 100%, like the Danger Days to the Black Parade to all their older stuff. Like, what do you think about that? Is that exactly kind of what you're talking about, where like it's still the band, but bringing the band through this?
I think Wyatt and I'm not a huge My Chemical Romance fan, but I definitely will give them respect. I think for them, all of the eras were authentic. Right?
Yeah.
They were truly being themselves. There's plenty of other artists you can go through their box set and see that they were trying different things, and it just didn't feel right. It just didn't feel like it was truly what they were trying to do, but someone told them or someone said that this is the right thing to do here. You want to put out a record that hits 23-year-old women, and what 23-year-old women are into right now is Say Yes to the Dress. So what we're going to do is we're going to when it's not true to the brand, which is you actually authentically true to the brand, then it's not a good thing. But from My Chemical Romance's case, they committed, right? It was truly them. Right. So at every show during the what's the Mayday the Black Parade
the Black Parade
stuff
thing,
that if you were in their orbit in anywhere in that 3-year time, that's what they were. They fully committed. It wasn't a thing
outfits,
they did.
The hair, everything.
It wasn't a thing they did because the boardroom told them to. It was truly what they were trying to present.
Right. Damn, that's so cool, man. What do you? Let's see. God, what other questions do I have? There's so many.
You don't have to ask. Ask questions.
Yeah. No, it's more. So I guess
your new single came out yesterday.
It did.
How do you feel?
It came out
that?
Yesterday. It felt pretty damn good.
Nice.
This is nice. I want to. Maybe I'll just do an episode where you interview me. This is really nice. No, it's really cool, and I love the imagery that you helped me do, and it looks amazing. It's the best that I think I could have ever put out, so thank you. It makes my other release look like shit. So
what, the art?
The art.
Oh, well, plenty more releases.
Well, just different. It's just different, not shitty, just different. But no, I'm curious because I get this a lot, and I get this criticism from Hope a lot, actually. Where I feel like as an artist, I'm very good at like putting the camera in front of me and talking to the camera, or talking to the audience rather, through just like a one-on-one, like, hey, what's up? I'm doing this kind of thing. Now, how should that, or how, in my case, let's say, just as an example, so I don't go too broad, is that a part of branding, that approach of like talking straight to the camera, things like that? Or do you think that's like more of a marketing thing of like how you speak to your audience? Or is that kind of more, because I've seen all my friends that are musicians right now, they're all doing like the Facebook Live videos, they're doing the Instagram Live, they're talking to people, they're doing the streaming and the performances online. Is there a way you think that branding is a part of that, or is, like you just said, like it's just you're the consistent no matter how you are communicating?
So like brand in language is the tone. So think of it as like a cartoon character.
Sure.
Porky the Pig has a certain tone about him. Like, so what? And marketing would be, what does Porky the Pig say to sell a certain thing?
Sure.
That's marketing. It's going to take the tone of the brand and then craft the message. Marketing is kind of the message, or the means to which to promote something. But the brand is the tone and the character behind that message.
Right. Okay. Damn. That's rough. So you like...
So you're doing both, obviously.
Right. And you're your own brand, right? And you develop your own brand as you, the individual.
Yeah. Which is something now that is kind of normal for everybody. For not everybody, but a greater percentage of the population than it ever has been. People are presenting themselves as brands.
Right.
On social media. Even like a little kid or a little like high school girl is curating the photos and everything that goes on social media and the way she says it, because she's building her brand.
Right.
And whether she knows it or not, that's what they're doing.
And I feel like when you're not, like, the most successful brands are when you're not trying. Is that accurate? When you're not trying to be anything other than like for instance, I say that only because like all the people like on TikTok and all of this, like they're trying to do whatever dance move or whatever it may be, but like they're just kind of doing it as themselves, not really a caricature of themselves. Would you?
Yes, the most successful brands have a authentic brand story,
Yeah.
and then as they evolve, it becomes harder and harder to stay within the ethics and values you've defined the original story in. But the most successful brands over time tend to be the brands that have the best products, but also the most consistent branding.
Yeah. I feel like I feel as though as like an artist in this kind of conversation, it's more my approach, I suppose, is I tried a bunch of shit, right? Before like meeting up with you and really fleshing this out. Like I tried a bunch of crap that did not work, or at least in my head didn't work. Like I would do it and then look back on it a year later and be like, oh, what the hell did I do? And now after kind of working with you a bit, I really realize, okay, it has to be, like you said, very true to you, very authentic. And I feel like we were just saying, that can change over time. And I feel as though that's okay because you grow as an artist, right?
Yeah.
But like, even
so as
like,
long as it's you're authentically doing it in your voice, whatever it is at the time. No matter how different you get, you're not going to be that different, you know?
Right, 'cause
People
it's still
change,
you.
but people don't really change.
right.
You know, people might get their shit together and, get a job, but it's still Daryl, you know?
Right.
It's not you're not a new person because you get a job. You might have grown in certain ways. So yeah, it's almost impossible to become a totally different brand if the brand is you.
Right.
No matter how hard you try.
I think that's what I've learned from you too.
If it's true.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Of course. It can't be like a character. Like
Yeah,
a character.
If it's honestly organically you, then yeah, it's hard to totally change who you are.
Damn. That's deep.
And if you try, it's probably not true. You know?
Dude,
There's
that's
been
what I've
artists
tried.
who try to Michael Jordan the situation and go to a different sport.
Right.
And it just doesn't feel right.
Right. The whole baseball Michael Jordan did not work out.
No. That wasn't a
Dude, that's what I was realizing too, like when I was working on my music and kind of growing as an artist from like my first band was called the Black Tie Event when I was in high school.
The Black Tire event.
Yeah.
I like it.
Then it was Matt and the City Limits.
I had a problem, so I looked up Monroe on Apple Music, and there's a bunch more Monroes.
Yeah, there's so many Monroe. I did not think about this.
There wouldn't have been another Black Tire event.
Dude, I know. I should have just kept the same thing.
I don't even know what that means, but
literally, I did not think about that. And then literally now it's called the Matt Berman Podcast because there's so many off the cuffs. I'm like, I gotta do my freaking research, but I don't.
Naming's hard.
Yeah, fuck it. I just name it what I want to name it. But, dude, now this has been amazing. Is there any words of wisdom? So, someone that has been in my position where they're coming out with a new record and they have their band or whatever, it's their name or whatever it may be. Any, like, one thing that you could say when you're going to approach branding and who you are, what would you tell them? What would your advice be?
So specifically to a recording artist who's releasing a song. I would be honest.
Yeah.
Be honest about what the song is. Whether it's a dance song that doesn't really mean much or it's a love song that means a lot. Just be real about it.
Yeah.
From a brand perspective, it's different. Like I approach marketing and advertising from a brand perspective. So I don't know if what I'm saying from that perspective is the best thing to do for that person monetarily.
Sure. I mean, let's make believe money is no issue.
Money's no issue, then yeah, just it's the product is you. So
it doesn't matter what you. It does. It seems what I'm getting from this conversation is it really doesn't matter. You know, what color you use necessarily or what typeface you use, as long as it's authentic to you and it means something to you.
It does matter in that if you have a record that is fun.
Sure. You're not
right?
gonna.
You don't want black and red.
Right.
Right. And so then are all your records. So then in the next record is a little sexier.
Uh-huh.
So that stuff does matter. But as long as the tone that you achieve is the tone that you're trying, that is of that product, then it doesn't matter. Right.
Sure.
Because there's going to be a connective tissue.
Right. Which is you.
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome.
You're
All
welcome.
right. We're going to have to talk more in depth about this.
So these are only a half an hour long?
These are only a half an hour long. Got to keep them wanting more, dude.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
How often do you put them out?
You know, I try to do weekly. I have no excuse. On the last
Yeah,
one, I
yeah.
did like a weekly update, and I realized
That's another branding piece. I don't know if it's branding or marketing, but having a consistent release schedule creates a feedback loop for your listeners, so that when they're on like Monday morning, they think, okay, this thing is to be expected,
right,
and keep them coming back.
Dude, that's like Bill Burr. Have you listened to his
Yeah.
podcast, Monday morning and Thursday afternoon podcast?
Yeah.
It's perfect.
I don't listen to the solo podcast anymore because I think it's just too much of one person.
Right.
But I love Bill Burr.
And then his like kids jump in and his wife. That's like a relieving Bill Burr in your brain knocking on your fucking head.
So yeah, I love Bill Burr, but I don't want to hate him, so I don't listen to his podcast.
But he's in The Mandalorian.
Yeah, he's in it.
He's fucking awesome.
He's in this new Pete Davidson movie. I watched the trailer for yesterday.
Oh wait, the King of Staten Island, right? He plays.
You see the trailer?
Yeah, dude, it's awesome.
He looks like an intense role for him.
Yeah, he's like his stepdad, right?
He's his angry stepdad, which is perfect for him.
That's gonna be awesome, dude. I'm so excited. All right, well, we're gonna have to have you back on just to like chat, and we'll have a few drinks and
maybe some less existentially and philosophical questions.
Yeah, we'll just hang and talk shit. I like that, dude.
Right.
Thank you so much, Alex. You're the man. Thanks.
Thank you. That was easy.